Mike was saved by the Albatross. In desperation, the guy up on the crow's nest yelled out, "Well, there's the Albatross. It's followed us, it followed us all the way from Hawaii." And so we just out of desperation went to the Albatross. Mike was the one man who couldn't swim. He was also the guy without a life preserver who had been told, "You have to have a life preserver on this boat. Never go on deck without a life preserver." Well, he taught himself how to swim. And he pulled his pants off and he made a float out of them. He tied the legs. And he did everything right, but I don't know how. But he was there. But he was dying of shock. He was going into shock. He wasn't going to make it. So we got a man in the water to try to get him with a life preserver and hang on to him. Then we got a skiff in the water, and that was Clem Stark. Clem was a hero that day. He got in. Is that Clem there? Hey! Woo! Come on up here, Clem. Come on up here. Yeah, oh, this is great. So Clem and I, we saw each other last year for a little while, but this year we've seen each other more, and it's been, 40 years?
Something like that.
Something like 40 years. So now we got 10 minutes, because we can finish the story now.
How did you get up there?
I don't know. I got here early. They put my name on the list first. I thought, oh, shit, what have I done now? So we, I saw a hero that day. This man, he got in a little dinghy about this big in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And it was my job to go around and put oarlocks in all the lifeboats before we left. Tied together with marlin, put them in there, make sure they were the right size. Now there goes Clem. He's bobbing off away from us. And he says, "I don't have any oarlocks."
So he threw the oarlocks to me. An absolute one in a lifetime toss, because I was quite a ways away. Then I discover after they actually do land in the ship that they are the wrong size. They don't. the thole pins don't fit in the. So all I have is a single oar to paddle with, like a canoe. So you go on, you tell the rest of the story. He saw it. I was out there.
Oh man, I never saw a sadder sight than seeing Clem get blown away. Now we have 4 men in the water here. We're trying to get them. We got another skiff in the water. We got 2 guys in that skiff. They said they couldn't paddle. I threw oarlocks to them too. It was another impossible throw. The gods were with us. Those went up and down in their boat, and they yell at me, "Wrong size!" Now they're sitting and they're naked, jaybird naked, because they didn't have time. We came up and that was it, just get in the boat. And they've got frog feet on and they're paddling on each side of the boat, but they said they couldn't get anywhere. There was no way they were going to paddle anywhere in that thing. And then something very strange happened. It was as if the gods came to help us, and the sea did a thing, and their boat that was way over here came over here. It was the drowning men, and their boat came around. Somehow the two, impossible in the middle of the Pacific, they came together. And they got the guys in the skiff, and we had to get them back on board, and that took a hell of a long time. And then we had to go looking for Clem, who had been blown completely out of sight. So what was it like when you saw the tip of the Goodwill? That's a 150-foot mast when you lost the Goodwill.
Well, if I couldn't see them, how the hell were they going to see me? So there was no chance, I mean, that was an experience like I'd never had before or since, when I knew I was a goner. And so I was out there for about an hour and a half, I guess, but all I could do was to keep from broaching to by paddling, keeping myself head on into the waves. The waves it was not stormy. But these were these Pacific swells were 20, 30 feet. So I was down in the trough, and then up over the crest and down in the trough again. And when I was down in the trough, it was like being in a mountain valley. Anyway, at some point, finally, I saw the mast of the ship appear on the horizon. I couldn't believe it, you know, and slowly I realized that it was getting closer. They must somehow have picked me up, had seen me. So you tell about the Albatross.
That Albatross had followed us from Hawaii, and it was just so beautiful to watch it skimming across the water, and it was always with us. And there was Clem underneath that Albatross, and that Albatross went high enough so we could see it. It stayed off the surface, and it went up high, and it circled right around him, just like, "Hey guys, come on over here." And so one last thing. Clem's in the skiff. Here we come under full diesel. That ship was a mother, and it was going completely underwater. The bow's going completely underwater. White water crashing, and there he is, and he's just this little cork, and we're coming right in on him, and we're going, "Oh Christ, we're gonna crush him." And okay, here's Clem. Here comes the Goodwill. Boom, boom. Clem comes under, grabs the basket underneath the bowsprit. It pulls him up out of the skiff. He's hanging on like hell, and it comes down and it sliced the boat in half. One half the dinghy went that way, one half went that way. And when that came out of the water, he was still there, hanging on. Some guys crawled out there and pulled him in, and he did a dance of life. Never forgot that dance of life. And so later on that evening, I sat down in the salon with some legal paper and a pencil, stubby pencil, and I wrote a song called "The Albatross." I'd like to sing it for you. It's a song we sang all the way back. We came under the Golden Gate Bridge. Our friends ran out on the bridge. They were throwing their hats off at us. Scarves were flying down. We pulled up in front of the Trident restaurant, which is this seaside restaurant with people at tables. We pulled up there and anchored. 100 people came on board, and we had a hell of a party. I got to calm down just a little bit to sing this. See if I can get started right. Well, the albatross is a mighty fine bird, flies on the ocean low. He comes skimming across the water, tipping into the spray, surveying everything below. He's a mighty fine bird. He flew to the end. I only know one thing. He saved my friend. You know the albatross is a mighty fine bird, you know. Well, I was standing on the foredeck when my friend yelled out, "Lord, I'm letting go." And he was taken from the rigging into the sea and carried down below. Man overboard went up the cry. We slashed the halyards, let the sails fly, and came about into a morning sky so slow. And then the crew looked out on a choppy sea, from the aft to starboard into the lee, and everywhere there was nothing but the rolling sea. White caps chopping, taking him away, until a man aloft cried, "There away, I see the birds a-circling, come about." A prayer to heaven we were shouting out, and we headed for the bird, and we found out that the albatross is a mighty fine bird. He flies on the ocean low. He comes skimming across the water, tipping into the spray, surveying everything below. He's a mighty fine bird. He flew to the end. I only know one thing. He saved my friend. You know the albatross, that's a mighty fine bird, you know.